I've gotten a lot of questions and feedback from my previous post about the fact that there is no such thing as toxic masculinity. The reasoning being, if you're masculine, you're not being toxic. And if you're toxic, there is no possible way for you to be masculine. We're going to talk about masculine and feminine energies, and we'll even discuss a little bit about the epidemic of loneliness that's going on right now for everybody, but especially for our young men, and what we can do about it. Let's get into the perception of the masculine and the feminine. And remember, we're not talking about biological sex. We're talking about masculine and feminine energies and how each sex can utilize those energies. What's the perception of the masculine? It's action-oriented, gets things done. It's physical, it's powerful, it's externally focused. There is protection of loved ones, but it's typically about physical protection. The healthy male masculine knows what it means to protect his loved ones, but it's not by force, it's not by aggression, and it's not by gaslighting. Those with a masculine persona, they're comfortable with power, which can be used either offensively to get things done and lead others, or defensively to set boundaries and protect themselves and their loved ones. When a masculine builds a safe container for his partner, it's about their physical protection. Where the masculine is about action, the feminine is about being. It's more about experiencing the here and now. The feminine is more internally focused. It's empathetic and creative. While it's more about emotion, don't mistake it for soft. The feminine energy is going to be more self-aware and self-explorative. The feminine are more likely to play in their shadows because they know that's where the growth is. It's about caregiving for their loved ones. While the masculine builds a safe container for their partner's physical safety, the female will build a safe container for the emotional protection of her loved ones. What people seem to forget is that each gender has both energies. Work with a female entrepreneur or a single mom, they'll often talk about needing to be in their masculine. They need to get things done. They need to go from A to B to C and execute their business plan or their family plan. Women in their masculine are seen by grounded people who understand these energies as powerful. These women are going to be seen as forces of nature, as doers, the action orientation of the masculine energy. And by those who aren't grounded and don't understand these energies, they're the ones who are going to call these powerful women bitchy and assertive. If you are one of these women who sometimes gets that label, ignore those small-minded people. Keep doing what you're doing and get the job done. Now, don't go thinking that one energy is weaker than the other. You think the feminine is weak? Watch a mother protect her young ones. Whether that is a grizzly bear or a human, those mama bear claws are going to come out if she feels her loved ones are threatened, and you're going to be in trouble. And afterwards, she will tend to the emotional needs of her little ones. That's the feminine in her masculine. What about the male in his feminine? A gentleman who is in touch with his feminine side is balancing his external focus with his internal, his action with being. He's in touch with his emotions. He is creative and he shows empathy for others and himself. This is the manager who doesn't scream at you to get your work done. He asks you what you need to accomplish the task. This is the partner who doesn't just care for you physically or just provide for you. He's interested in your mental and emotional well-being. This is not a shallow man, but one who has explored his shadows and his depth, and he's interested in yours. Can you have too much of either? Too much feminine energy or too much masculine energy? Absolutely. Too much feminine energy and you lose power. You end up being manipulated or codependent on others. Too much masculine and you are aggressive, confrontational, and you're shallow, and you become toxic. There is a balance, and both genders have both masculine and feminine energies. Some of the women clients I have are very strong in their masculine, and they talk about needing to get out of their masculine more often and back into their feminine. And more often than not, they don't yet feel safe to do so. They don't have that right partner providing them with a safe container. On the other side, some women without much masculine energy, they need to take their power back. I'm talking to the good girls out there, and the one way out of that trap is to be more masculine. And it is the same for the men. Some of my male clients need more masculine. They need to take their power back too. Some of my male clients have too much masculine energy. They need to get into the here and now. Part of that is they need to get into their emotions and they need to play in their shadows. They need to incorporate their feminine energies. Remember when I said earlier that the feminine will play in their shadows? Without feminine energy, men are afraid to go play in their shadows. They pretend they don't have any. They pretend they don't exist, and that's where the toxicity comes from. They're doing everything they can to protect themselves from their own shadows, because the shadows are typically going to involve emotional issues and maybe even emotional trauma. You ever see a dad yell at his upset son that boys don't cry? That is how you start raising a toxic man. What about the epidemic of loneliness going on right now, especially in North America, and especially for the younger generation, and especially for young men? What is loneliness? It is the absence of healthy relationships. And what do you need to have healthy relationships? You need an emotional connection. You need secure attachment. You need vulnerability. And where does that vulnerability come from? Where does that emotion come from? It's going to come from the feminine energy. And the so-called manosphere, it's all about denying that men have any feminine energy whatsoever. So you're not going to have authentic friendships. You're not going to have authentic relationships. You're going to end up alone, feeling lonely, and that's going to magnify the toxicity with even more anger and more frustration and more fear of your own emotions, and everything just self-propagates. I'm not a fan of stereotypes, but stereotypes do exist because people do fit them. So we're going to use a stereotype as an example. Bunch of women having a girls' night out, hanging out with their lady friends. They're talking about relationships, they're talking about their loved ones, they're talking about things that are going to connect them with each other. They're being vulnerable and they're having authentic connections. What's the stereotypical guy's night out? Getting some beers, watching a sport event, joking around with each other, doing something physical, playing pool or golf, and then they're going to go to the bar and they're going to hit on women until they go home that night, probably alone. If you spend most of your time in your masculine, go deeper into your feminine, and vice versa. Find friends, trusted partners to help you out. Remember, you are comfortable where you are, likely for historical reasons. In other words, your upbringing, your family of origin, and all that stuff you lived with growing up. So doing this may be uncomfortable. If you need, find a therapist or a coach. Interview a number of them and find the right one for you. And first of all, find one that is already in their balance. So fellas, I have to address this because it's another stereotype here. Doing this, finding yourself more feminine energy, is not going to make you effeminate. It's not going to change your sexual orientation. What it's going to do is it's going to make you human. Imagine building that safe container for your partner that is about their physical safety and their emotional and mental safety. Now imagine when your partner feels inherently safe in both their physical body and their emotional well-being. Now they're free to share with you their deep thoughts and their emotions, and they're free to be who they truly are. Now imagine the connection you can build when you provide somebody with both the masculine and the feminine in one safe container. And this will blow you away, guys. Imagine what that will feel like when somebody does that for you. I'm a professionally trained dominant. I didn't get here by only being in my masculine, and I sure as hell didn't get here by being toxic. I got here by being comfortable in both my masculine and my feminine, and living in the part of that Venn diagram where they overlap. Imagine a well-dressed man taking his partner out for the evening. You see him opening the car door for her. You see him maybe giving her his coat if she feels cold. Not because she can't do it, and not because he thinks she can't take care of herself, but because he's offering her support and he's offering her kindness. Those alleged feminine attributes, does that make him any less of a man, or does that make him more of a gentleman? What if these aren't even feminine qualities at all, but human qualities? That is the combination of masculine and feminine energy. I provide for my partner or my clients exactly what they're needing and exactly what they're looking for to feel safe and to feel vulnerable and to feel heard and to have the experiences they've always wanted to experience, and to make the changes in their lives they have always dreamed of making. As a pro-dom, I am constantly in both my masculine and my feminine energies. So the masculine and feminine together is how you build a truly fulfilling life. And that's just being human. Evolutionarily, in most species, the feminine is responsible for the newborn and the young, while the men, well, in many species, they just go their merry way. They continue to hunt, fend for themselves, and frankly, they're already finding a new mate. So based on evolution, some of the masculine and feminine energies I've talked about make sense. Some of them. But for humans, I actually don't believe they're necessary anymore, and they are maintained only as a societal construct. And as such, these constructs are going to vary a bit from culture to culture, and they're going to vary a bit from time to time as well. If being human sounds like something you want to experience or something you want more of, come talk to me. What I'm talking about here today is more the North American construct of the masculine and the feminine. It's going to vary in different societies. It's going to vary as we go through time, and hopefully more people get in touch with both their masculine and their feminine. It's going to vary and get better.